What if I told you there was a way to achieve all of your wildest dreams both personally and professionally? And it doesn't come down to any hacks or tricks that you have to do. It's all about your mindset. Mindset makes all of the difference. Now, there are two types of mindset that we primarily have, and this will affect our ability to achieve our goals or not. There's growth mindset and there's fixed mindset. Now, really, the most important distinction here is that growth mindset does not hold failures as flaws or dwell on them. Instead, it sees the opportunity to learn from. And by seeing things with a fixed mindset, we tend to attribute failures to character flaws. And so that could be things like not being smart enough or the challenge is just too hard and we therefore give up. People who take on challenges with a growth mindset tend to pursue it much longer than those with a fixed mindset. Instead of turning tail when the challenges become hard, they keep on going and persevering. And the great news is that we can all learn from this difference between fixed and growth mindset because this isn't something that is stuck inherently in our personality. We can change. And if you feel like you're stuck in a fixed mindset, just by learning how to approach more situations with a growth mindset is going to fundamentally change how you approach your life. So here are some of the ways that you can start practicing growth mindset to stand strong when the going gets tough. And I've found that journaling is a really helpful way to shift from a fixed mindset to growth mindset. So I'm going to include some prompts and exercises that you can work on for each of these situations as you go through them. And I really encourage you to actually take the time to write things down and use the journaling prompts because it's going to make a much bigger difference for you. So first off, recognize that you already have a continuum of fixed and growth mindset. We all have areas that we are innately talented at and skills that come more naturally to us. And so we already do by default work harder and push through more challenges in these areas of our lives. We can recognize in ourselves when we haven't worked as hard as we ought to on something, and we know when we need to push a little bit harder on the challenge next time or correct our mistakes to do something better. And then there are situations or skills in our lives where we are more fixed mindset. And so we tend to blame ourselves for just not being good enough to handle it. And we often give up too quickly. But this continuum of growth and fixed mindset can shift as we learn to recognize this in ourselves more. So write about the areas in your life and the skills that you are really good at naturally. How do you face failures or setbacks in these areas? Now take some time to write about the things that you're not as good at and what you can do to get better at them. In what areas or ways do you find yourself blaming others or the situation at hand instead of taking ownership? Now the next growth mindset practice is to reflect on past challenges and failures. When I first started out in university, I thought I wanted to go to medical school. And like a lot of other students on the pre-med path, I got my hopes and dreams crushed by organic chemistry and calculus. And I didn't feel like I was prepared enough. I blamed it on high school being too easy or the professors in these classes being too ruthless on me. I didn't want to take ownership of things like seeking out help to understand concepts better and trying to just push through with rote memorization, which is definitely not the best steady method when you're trying to understand core concepts better. And in addition to learning about growth mindset more since then, I find that journaling and working through prompts has been a key way to rewire the past and see these perspectives in a different light. So a great prompt for this is to reflect on past challenges and failures in your own life. What could you have done differently? What could you have learned from to handle those situations with more of a growth mindset? Now, the third growth mindset practice is to prepare for challenges ahead. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum. If you prepare for unexpected misfortunes or bad things to happen, you're going to be better suited to handle them if they do come up. And this isn't about being pessimistic or negative, but it's about having the different perspectives ready and at hand just in case, so that you are better prepared to handle them. If you do proactively think of things like this, you'll be better prepared to handle them with a growth mindset. Maybe you'll recognize that potential sources of failures are things like not studying hard enough or just not being well prepared, and then you're going to do more of the actions to keep you on course to the positive outcome that you want. And this is something that the Stoics actively practiced. Marcus Aurelius wrote about how he would be prepared for the day and expected to face mean people or anybody that's going to be rude or arrogant in his path. And so he was better prepared to handle them when those things did come about. So as you work on sharpening your growth mindset, write about the day ahead, the week, the month, even the year that's coming up, so that you have a different perspective and you'll be prepared for the road ahead. And this is one of the ways that you can hone that growth mindset and be ready to overcome the obstacles. And if you want to reinforce your understanding of growth versus fixed mindset, I highly recommend reading the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. She's the researcher that recognized this important distinction and how we all exist on this fixed versus growth mindset continuum. And this book was hugely transformational for me, so I highly recommend that you check it out if you want to learn more. Remember to stay focused on the journey and that those obstacles are inevitably going to come up along your way. And until the next video, find your flow.